Beat Making Basics.
What's going on YouTube? Beat Making Basics back again with another dope video. If you're new to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe as well as give me a thumbs up because we're coming back with bangers. Now this video, basically what we're going to be doing is going over a simple mixing process to get dope mixes on your beats, okay? Pretty much this is going to be a part 2 to the beat I made previously as a Yeat type beat. And I'm going to be mixing this in Logic Pro 10, and I just want to give you a simple process. Now, the process is this. First of all, if you want to know how to export your files the right way, especially if you're a beginner, you have to watch the video before this, okay? But basically what you want to do is when you have your MIDI files in your session, you want to go ahead and export them as audio, okay? Export those as audio and then bring them back into a new session. All right, so that's what we got going on right here. We got our audio files and we're in a new session. And from here, I'm gonna just kind of line out the super simple steps that we're gonna do. After we get the beats into the session, the new session, we're gonna work on the levels, okay? We're gonna go through the drums first, okay? Make sure that the drums are hitting where it should be. Make sure nothing's tucked down too low or nothing's up too high. Do the same with the melody and the bass. From there, we're going to go ahead and put some EQ on each of the tracks, or at least a good amount of the tracks, to make sure that things are balanced that way. None of the lower end frequencies are competing with the high end frequencies. And then from there, we're going to group those tracks together. So we're going to have a group for the drums and a group for the melody. And we're going to turn it down to make sure that there's headroom in the mix for the master, okay? We'll also do some panning left or right, and we might go ahead and add a few effects onto the beat if it needs it, okay? Because with me, man, I feel like the philosophy behind mixing is just making sure that actually the sounds are quality that you're using. If you use quality sounds, the mix on the beat is going to be easy every single time, or simple should be a better word. So let's go ahead and jump right in, and yeah, let's check it out. So I'm gonna go ahead and click here. This is our mixer window. And what I'm gonna do is I'll go ahead and preview the beat first, let you hear just a little bit of that. And then from there, you can, we'll go through to getting the levels. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn down the stereo out some so it's not blaring. All right, so that's the beat, all right? So I'm gonna turn this back up. I'm gonna highlight everything, bring this down, okay? I'm gonna bring that down, and then I'm just gonna start working on the drums first. So I'm gonna go to this kick, and I just held down Option and clicked right there, and it brought it to nominal. So let's start working on here. I want the kick to hit, like really thump in the beat. So this is gonna really be the first thing that we're gonna work on mixing. So bring that in, that's cool. Bring this snare in. So pretty much have a good sense of levels right here. Things I want you to keep in mind, especially as if you're just getting started with mixing. The hi-hats are not too loud. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna turn those down some. Because that's the one thing that can mess up your mix if the hi-hats are too loud. Also, the snare and the clap, they're not up too loud as well. So you want to balance things out. So like those are really tucked right below that kick. All right, so a few things I want to keep in mind. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull up this 808, aka sub. I pretty much want to bring this up just loud enough so you can hear it, but it's not overtaking the drums. And then from here, we'll go ahead and just start working on bringing up the other elements of this beat. Come over here to this part of the beat as well. And if you're noticing with like the melody, I have it really kind of tucked in right under the drums and this 808. It's just so slightly, ever so slightly tucked in here. Now, like I said before, we're gonna now come and then just group these drums. So I'm coming to the out and go to an available bus, and we're gonna send the signal via an auxiliary track, and we got that. So this is just a good way to get started with, with mixing, just doing this process right here that I'm showing you. There's always higher levels of mixing that you can get to, and it's just really gonna take practice. It might seem super simple or might seem pretty easy, and overall it's not too hard if you have to understand the basis of what you're doing, but it takes time. You have to actually practice doing this. But anyway, what I'm going to do now is just turn this down some, and it's going to give us a little headroom. I'm going to put this over the hook part. So I have a little bit of headroom over here. So from here, now I'm gonna go ahead and do some basic EQing. The type of EQing that we're gonna do is subtractive EQing, not additive EQing. When I mean subtractive EQing, I'm gonna be taking away frequencies instead of adding them in. And the frequencies we want to take or focus on taking away are the lower end frequencies. So I'll come over here. You can get any EQ to do this, but I'm gonna use this waves EQ. It's this one right here. Let's give it a couple of seconds for it to load. So you pretty much just take this. You're gonna pull out some of the low end right here, and what that's gonna do is make room for the low end of, like, say, your 808 or your kick, just some of like those lower sounds. And basically you want to take out enough lows to where you can kind of definitely hear that this is making room here, but it's not making the overall sound too thin. Because if it's too thin, it's like. So we got that one done. We can actually probably put this same EQ on some of these other ones as well, especially since this is all the same sound. Now you can also do subtractive EQing on like your snare, your claps, hi-hats, stuff like that. And I'm just gonna do like a basic one on there. Nothing too crazy. If you pay attention to as well, this is like your frequency range. You can kind of start to, as you listen to, say for instance, this 808. You'll be able to see where the peaks are, usually coming in on like the lower beats. So like for instance, look, this is your 808. And if you look right here, like pretty much everything under 125 and lower, that's like really where the most of that 808 or that low end sound is. And you can start to get up here even in the 200s and 250s. And if you look right here too on this one, this is your snare. You can see how a little bit of the low end is really pretty much non-existent. So it'd be better off to go ahead and take some of that out, and then it leaves room for this one to come through. This is why we're doing subtractive EQing. So boom, boom. Obviously, I'm going to make some adjustments here, and I usually leave this kick in the 808 alone for the most part. You can also roll off some of the high-end frequencies as well on some of these. But for me, like it's not about making the mix perfect, it's about making the mix professional. Because perfection, you know, is something that just you can't really achieve that, but you can achieve professionalism. Or you can achieve perfection, but you know, might have to happen after you die, because this is an imperfect world, if that makes sense. Anyway, let's keep it going. I think that actually did it pretty well. From here, let's look into actually panning some of these instruments. Now, for the most part, this is like basic rule of thumb type thing. You don't want your melody to be too spread out, in my personal opinion. Okay, let's listen to it now. And arguably, there is more stuff that we could add to the beat, arguably. But I'm going to go ahead and just leave it as long as this. For the most part, the beat is ready to go. Now, you could add some other stuff to it to make certain things stand out in the mix. So one thing you could do maybe is throw just a little bit of reverb on this. Don't throw a whole lot, but to do that, I would do it through the sends. So you're going to come over here, go to an available bus. You're going to send a signal that has a reverb on it over here into this track using this send section. And reverb is a nice little tool, but it's definitely something that you don't want to OD on. Okay, so like that's why I'm going to do it like this. I usually like to go ahead and push up a little bit on the decay and the depth, turn that down some, and then let's go ahead and see how this is gonna sound. Now, just so I can pay attention to it, I'm gonna mute out everything right here except for the drums in this. So another thing that's cool with this being audio, you could catch little stuff like this, how this kind of, there's just a little part right there. So you can fix those little things, push Command T here, and you can like fix this like that. And again, this is the reverb is just, this beat doesn't need a whole lot of reverb on it. What I will do is probably put a little bit more reverb on these little accent notes right here. Those could actually have a lot more reverb on them. And then another thing you can do as well is come over here and actually put an EQ on the reverb. That can help with making it muddy or less muddy by taking out some of the lows on the reverb as well. And this is another thing you can do is you can come over here to your aux track right here. You can put certain plugins on like certain groups. So like this melody group that pretty much has the same instrument played a couple of different ways. I can put this MV2 plugin, which is a compressor, on here and make it sound a little bit more pronounced in the mix. Reverb there when it turns off. So for the most part, I'm just gonna go ahead and save this. I feel like there's really not a whole lot more that I want to do to the beat. I believe in simplicity. If you could look on here, I mean, I have one plugin right here, but all the rest of this is pretty much levels, grouping, EQ, that type of stuff. And so that's just my philosophy on it, as far as not adding too much craziness on the actual beat when you mix it. We're going to go ahead and end this out, pushing Command B to bounce this down. We're going to go ahead and create a wave file. Go to PCM, wave, 24-bit, and I'm going to do 4800. I mean, not 48,000. Turn normalize off. And we're going to go ahead and bounce this down. And then what we're gonna do after we bounce this down is to import it into a brand new session again. And in this section, we're pretty much just going to keep it simple. We're going to throw a maximizer plugin on there. There's several different maximizer plugins, or you can even say mastering plugins, but for the most part, we're going to be focusing on the maximizer in these plugins. So I could master it here, but I'm not going to do it like that. So I'm going to go ahead and say new. We'll close this, and yeah, we'll save that. And then from here, we'll just go audio track, create. We're gonna go ahead and save this too. We're gonna name it the name of the beat, and then I'm just gonna say master. And this is just some simple mastering stuff. I mean, I'm not trying to OD on this for you all as far as like mastering. I'm just gonna drag this in like so. Then go ahead and change project and import. And then from here, we're gonna make sure that we go ahead and grab this end marker and get all that dead space at the end. Make sure you always do that when you drag these tracks back in here. All right, let's delete that. And then what I wanna do is just put like a loop over the main part of the beat, which would be the hook. So we're gonna put that over there. You just wanna make sure that you have some headroom there to go ahead and boost the signal. So we'll put a basic mastering plugin on here. You can use the adaptive limiter if you want to. You just click on stereo, and then what you're going to do is use the stereo out, turn that down to the 0.1, or you could even go lower than that, so negative 0.5, and you can just take the gain up as needed. You know what I'm saying? So check this out. Let's move it. So that sounds pretty dope. Pretty much just using this plugin to maximize and boost the signal some, okay? Now we can also use Ozone 9 by Isotopes. Let's go over here and we're gonna go to the Ozone 9 plugin. And once that comes up, for the most part, we're just gonna be using the mastering assistant, all right? So usually just click here, select your options. As you can see here, pretty much I'll play around with turning this equalizer off. I usually just take that off because as you can see, it kind of dips out and affects some of the mix right there. And I want to keep it really, pretty solid to the mix. So I turn that off, and you turn it on here. Basically, you can see the difference here. So that's what we got here. And if you look at these two different options, you got this one, this is regular. And then this is with the plugin. And then let's listen to the adaptive limiter. So those are just two different ways that you can basically boost the signal with the adaptive limiter or with Ozone 9, okay? Pretty simple process here. Now I do want to go ahead and let you know that it's pretty simple after this. You just push Command B, and then this is gonna pull up. You wanna select PCM, and you're gonna go ahead and do a wave file. You can do 16-bit. You can take it back down to 44,100. And then you can also bounce down to MP3. Put it onto your folder, on your computer. You can rename this. I usually just put the BPM here. You know what I'm saying, and then just let it do its thing. Okay, so that's pretty much it in a nutshell. You could try different ways. This is not the only way to mix, but it's just a way that I found that works pretty solid as far as me getting good solid mixes on my beats in Logic Pro 10. If you liked this video, make sure that you go ahead and give me a thumbs up on it. Also leave me a comment, and please get subscribed to the channel if you're not already. All right, and also if you're new or if you've been watching for a while, make sure you go to my site, beatmakingbasics.com. Okay, we have courses on there, we have kits, we have a lot of different ways for you to grow and learn and take your beats to the next level, especially if you're a beginner. So just want to say thank you for watching this video all the way to the end, and I'll see you next time.